Well, hi there. Warm welcome. You're watching Blueprint Explosive Exclusive and I'm Meghna Deka. Well, viewers, 2012 is etched in the memory of every Indian because of the horrific Nirbhaya case that united the entire country, seeking stricter punishment for rapists. Never again, they had vowed to us. But has much changed on the ground? Well, over the last 3 days, there have been 3 different chilling instances across the entire nation. That makes us question. Laws may have changed, but has the mindset changed? Unfortunately, there is very little change on the ground when it comes to women's safety. A bone-chilling incident has come to light from Gwalior in Madhya Pradesh, where a 5-year-old girl, let that sink in, a 5-year-old girl was raped and brutally assaulted by her 17-year-old neighbor. He called her from the chat, said, "Come with me," took her, and then he raped her. I read her medical report and it sent a chill down my spine. I'll show you what it says. This is what the medical report of a 5-year-old child says. She was found in a pool of blood by her relatives, by her family, when they rushed her to the hospital. They had to put 28 stitches in a 5-year-old child's private parts to try and keep her alive. She was found with bite marks on her face. It gets worse, there were bite marks on her private parts as well. Her head was slammed against the wall repeatedly. Let all of this sink in. This is the India that we are living in. This girl, well, she's now been admitted in the Kamala Raja Hospital in Gwalior for treatment. The accused, Kishore, he's, remember, a minor, 17.5 years old. He has now been arrested. Police officials revealed that the monster had even tried to kill that little child, a 5-year-old child, by smashing her head repeatedly on the ground. But she still is now fighting for her survival. She's in the ICU. We are hoping that she's going to come out of it. In fact, this is what the police said.
हाँ, ये 4 दिन पहले एक बच्ची 5 वर्ष की है और बहुत खराब स्थिति में, उसको काफ़ी ज़्यादा चोटें थी। उसके साथ वो भर्ती हुई थी, तो संज्ञान में आया तो हमने तत्काल संबंधित चिकित्सक, जो पीडियाट्रिक सर्जन और गायनेकोलॉजिस्ट की टीम बना के उसका उपचार किया है। चूँकि चोटें इतनी ज़्यादा थी कि एक नया उसका जो लैट्रिन का रास्ता नया बनाना पड़ा। अभी उसकी लगातार हम अपडेट ले रहे हैं और उसके जो टांग है वहाँ पर तो वो बहुत भयानक तरीके से वो टीयर था।
Well, in fact, she's not the only one. Remember, there are others as well. Let's tell you about some of the other horrific incidents which are coming to light across the entire length and breadth of the nation. A 26-year-old in Pune was raped in a parked bus depot. In fact, 2 days after the horrific rape, the rapist has now finally been arrested. The accused is a 36-year-old. In fact, he is Dattatreya Ramdas Kade. You can see this man on your screens. He was arrested. He was hiding in a farm for the last 2 days. He was apparently not eating, so he ventured out, went to one of the villagers, asked him for water and for some food. The villager tipped off the police. Finally, he was arrested. But here's the interesting bit. He was a history sheeter. He has multiple cases of theft, of robbery and chain snatching. Yet, this man was out on bail when he committed this crime. Is there no fear of law? Is there no fear of justice? Is there no fear of a conviction? We ask these questions. Unfortunately, it's not just 1 or 2 instances across the length and breadth of the nation. In the national capital as well. Imagine, this is Delhi, the national capital. It has witnessed a gruesome crime again against a minor. A 15-year-old Delhi girl was allegedly raped and then blackmailed by her tuition teacher repeatedly for several years. This girl has alleged that the accused mentally harassed her. He raped her multiple times at the tuition center, and he's supposed to be her teacher. The accused also threatened the victim, blackmailed her emotionally, and ensured that she was too afraid to come out and go to the police. Finally, the minor confided in her father a week back that she was being physically assaulted by her tutor. And then on Wednesday, they went to the police. And finally, this man, Arunav Pal, has been arrested. But what is the problem? Why this series of rapes coming in? We have stricter laws now after the Nirbhaya incident. Let's tell you how laws, unfortunately, don't seem to be a deterrent. Let's tell you about the reforms which have been brought in. This is the first reform that we are getting for you. Death penalty if a victim is less than 12 years old. The second reform, minimum sentence of 10 years, and this can extend all the way across to a capital punishment as well. The third reform which was brought in, 16-year-olds can now be tried as adults. Still, that's not a deterrent. The fourth reform is that there is a larger definition of what really rape constitutes. Even non-penetrative acts now constitute rape. Also, bringing in fast-track courts, something that has been ensured, but unfortunately doesn't seem to be helping on the ground. And one reason perhaps for that is the low conviction rate in India. What we are going to do for you is show you, compare at least 3 nations and their conviction rates when it comes to cases of rape. In India, it is an abysmal 27 to 28% convictions coming in. In Britain, it is as high as 63.5. This is in the year 2022, 23 and 24. In Canada, it's about 42%. Give or take. I'm not saying that these are high. Perhaps we should do better. But the problem here is this. The fact that India has a conviction rate of merely 27%. What about the rest of them? Did they all get away literally with rape? These are some of the questions we are going to be asking to our guests. Joining us today on the show, we have Ira Trivedi. She's an author, a yoga acharya as well. Dr. Charu Wali Khanna is joining us, former member of the NCW, a senior advocate. And Charu Wali Khanna, I want to come to you first because there are local authorities. You've told me this earlier. There were local authorities when it came to that gruesome case of a 5-year-old child who was brutalized. They were reaching out to you. They were reaching out to NGOs to help the child, to help her parents. Why? Why are our systems not in place? We failed her once, that she had to be brutalized in this manner. Why are we failing her now?
Absolutely. When an incident takes place, all the systems are in place. You have the legal aid services, you have the police, you have the state legal aid. But what is happening is that this girl, it happened in a village, she was taken to Shivpuri. From Shivpuri, our volunteer had to write to the authorities and send her to Gwalior. And now we're trying to get her to Delhi. But what was the situation? She got raped when her father had gone out to get some of his treatment done. The father is lying with jaundice or typhoid. The girl is lying in the hospital with those stitches and colostomy. The doctor said that they put a stool bag. So all her urine and stool is all coming out in bags. Now who is going to pay for that? The parents are poor laborers. If there is a system, Supreme Court, NALSA guidelines clearly say interim compensation should be given within a week. But what is the authority doing? Nobody is bothered. It's 4 days. Again today we had to transfer money because the parents can't come. It's expensive and they're laborers. They have to leave, they have to leave 1 day's wages. Going from their village to Gwalior. How are they going to survive? I mean, the girl and the parents, they're in such a miserable condition and the systems don't work. You just spoke about, you said that there's no fear and, in the Bombay case, you just said that in spite of the laws becoming more strict. In the Bombay case is a classic case because he was in and out of jail on bail in petty theft case.
The Pune case, yes.
Yes, Pune case. So law is of no, doesn't matter to them. They know how to manage it. Once you've gone for any petty theft, you've gone to jail, we can manage the system. What about the courts? The criminal justice system has totally collapsed. You're talking about 27% conviction. Yes, there's 27% conviction when the court is really convinced that it's a case beyond reasonable doubt. And because courts are very hesitant to convict and to give very severe punishment. And in those 27% cases, you have not taken the details. When they come to Supreme Court, they are scot-free. In the rape case in Delhi, which was Chabla rape case, which was absolutely went on for days, which in Delhi, it was so many years it was lying in the Supreme Court. We moved applications and then it was heard. What did they say? They didn't believe the FSL report. I mean, you don't believe the FSL report, what do you want the police to do? Police gets demotivated. So everything is in a mess. The other thing is that how can we prevent these incidents? This is important because the children who are being violated are getting younger, and the violators are also, this boy was in Madhya Pradesh, he was 17 and a half. Even children of 14 and 12-year-old are violating young girls. Why is this happening? Because in India, the maximum number of pornography is, the traffic is from India. These young kids are school dropouts. And these school dropouts have not been taught anything in school, not sensitization. Their knowledge of sex and sex education is through these violent, kind of, even our films are like that. But nobody's bothered. The authorities have totally, and the only thing they say, mindset should change. Mindset, koi laddu hai, that you will give it to someone. It's an intergenerational change for 10 years. When you know your children are going to drop out, they're not going to complete school, fourth fail, art may fail. These are two, benchmarks. At least at the young age, teach them something, how to control their sexuality.
Right.
You are in a very, very scary position. Things are happening in India and they're going to increase. Because you have this absolute, like bhediye. They're like bhediye. And who will the person, the boy, the perpetrator, to satisfy his curiosity and after he's been provoked?
Absolutely, and they spare absolutely no one, even a child. And the politicians can't even blame it on revealing clothes as they have many times, or say boys can be boys. No, boys cannot be boys. That is unacceptable. It's also unacceptable to blame the woman, because there are cases where there are children involved. Were they also wearing suggestive clothes? Ira Trivedi, I think we all can agree with Dr. Charu Khanna that it's time that we look at a generational shift. But how will that happen? Laws, yes, they've been brought in. We gave an entire list of the reforms which have been brought in. Clearly, that's not helping. How do we bring about that generational shift that Dr. Khanna is also talking about?
It needs to be a cultural shift, a real cultural shift. And I think that we have a very powerful tool now, social media. There needs to be campaigns, like actual campaigns to normalize just, gender sensitization.
Okay.
That's what needs to happen at a very, very large scale. I think we have not been doing enough for gender sensitization. We just think that things will happen naturally like they have all over the world. But India is a very different beast, and we have to handle things in a very different way. So I do feel that it needs to go beyond just lawmaking now, because we're seeing that the laws are broken time and again. There's various situations that are happening, but the same incident is happening in different situations. And the laws are not helping at all. In fact, I feel like the laws are in some way just making the issue worse and, worse by saying that we'll punish you, but it's not really happening. So I do feel that
convictions are low.
Yes, convictions are actually low. So what we need to do is that we need to really do gender sensitization. And honestly, we have a fantastic tool for that now, social media.
Yeah.
Via social media, we need to really, really target gender sensitization in this country. Social media has reached urban, rural India, all of it. So I really feel like this will really help. It's not going to happen immediately, but it will happen over time, and it's possible. So I think it has to be a social...
But that's interesting. You're talking about the social movement. We saw all of that in 2012 as well. And here's my worry. In 2012, at the time of Nirbhaya, that brutal rape and murder case which happened in Delhi, I remember I too was part of several of these candlelight marches. All of that had happened. There was a lot of mobilization. There were a lot of promises being made by the authorities as well. Dr. Khanna, nothing is changing. It is absolutely impossible to bring about this change. But why? Why are we facing this problem? How are other countries dealing with it?
Because we haven't even tried. Other countries, they teach the child what is consent at a very young age, at 6, 7. Here we say sex education is no. So how are young boys from the age, let's say 14, 15, 16, who are committing these offenses, what do they know about it? For them, they only know, they are learning sex is a violent act, is supposed to be pleasurable. That is what they're learning. And that is what they're indulging in. Who are they catching? The weakest victims. Because the older girl may resist, there may be a problem. So they are unable to control their sexuality. And this is a very, very crucial age, very critical age.
Absolutely.
And they know nothing is going to happen. They'll go to jail, come out. We've seen, like you yourself said in the Pune case, how many times has he go? So they know they can. The law has no meaning for them. It's a mockery. The whole system has become a mockery. We need to, the authorities need to take very stern steps. And stern steps, like, the other panelist says, doesn't mean make the law stringent. Law is not working. So see what works.
Right.
And
laws haven't changed. Unfortunately, implementation also goes a long way. As we were just discussing, the conviction rates are so low. Perhaps which is why, in fact, this is something that repeatedly has been said, that many of the rapists feel that they can literally get away with it because they know that the wheels of justice are going to be moving so slowly that they'll either manage to escape, and something that even Dr. Khanna has said, when it reaches the high courts, they can literally get away with even rape and even murder in some of the cases, perhaps, because the convictions, remember, also reflect the convictions in the lower cases. What happens in the higher case, where we don't have that accurate data with us? Ira Trivedi, what next? What can be done? Yes, there are good suggestions that you've talked about. Gender sensitization using the social media. Dr. Khanna has spoken about sensitization and the teaching of the good touch, bad touch, but also teaching the boys about consent. What next? What needs to be done as a society?
I think sex is often used here as a tool of violence. It's, as our other panelists just explained, that sex has this association with violence, and I do think that associating it with pleasure and love versus a violent act would really be a good thing, but that will take time. And I think as a cultural shift through all of our different mediums, that is possible. Of course, strong laws are important. They have to be done. Convictions have to be there. Strong statements have to be made, but it's not about punishment. I do think it's about an entire cultural shift. I also do think that socialization is important. Just the way that we separate genders, men and women are separated, that leads to, that's not a great thing. So I just think that the socialization, healthy socialization, needs to be normalized. So it's not that, if you want to meet a girl, it needs to be in secret, or talking to boys is bad.
Absolutely. The segregation of the sexes, and imposed segregation.
Forced segregation that, talking to girls is bad or talking to boys is bad or this is bad. So this is still the case in large parts of India.
Yes, absolutely.
The genders are segregated, and I don't think that in a society which has so many different layers to it, so many different kinds, it's a very healthy thing to do. But again, this is not a one-step process. It's not going to happen in a year.
Absolutely agree with you. This is going to be a slow process. But let's start taking these baby steps. Let's initiate. Other than stricter laws, we need to increase the conviction rates. And both our panelists today have also spoken about gender sensitization, explaining to the boy about what consent really means, using the social media to spread awareness. But also, Ira Trivedi also has made an interesting point about the forced segregation and how that may just increase the curiosity when there is little knowledge available. Thank you so much, Ira Trivedi, as well as Dr. Khanna, for joining us and giving us, at least showing us a way forward. Hopefully we can take it forward, but these conversations are very important in the society as well. Thank you so much for watching. We are slipping into a short break. I'll return in 2 minutes.